All right, it is Matt Mosley, and good to be back. Brice Cherry joining us. Busy day for him. Brice and I always enjoy getting to hang out together in the press box and then afterwards. And Brice, we I think something about these like tough moments and tough Baylor games that you and I generally are pretty good at keeping it light, at least when you and I are dealing with each other. I think people sometimes think the media, like we're like when after a huge loss with teams we cover, like that we're in a state of mourning or something, and that's not not really how it impacts us. Although it's a better story for us when you have a winning team. It's like I tell people, I want the Cowboys to be great or be horrific, right? I mean, that the middle ground's the rough thing. Now Baylor's in a middle ground from a performance, or I guess below that, and then now they have all this other stuff. Wasn't that? And I appreciate you hopping on, Brice. You and I have experience with those kinds of nights from the other night last night, like when games are being played, and it's like almost the game is beside the point. It's like you got a coach, what's going to happen with him? But now you have an AD. What's going to happen with the AD? And you really kind of need an AD to fire a coach, right? If you're going to get fired. Like, I thought about that performance the other night and how pitiful that was. The defense was horrible again. And I thought at all these SEC stops and other places, that would have been the time just be like, okay, he's done, right? I mean, just like this is nonsense. I mean, they can't stop anybody. It's embarrassing. They couldn't lay a finger on the guy. And yet there's nobody right now. I mean, they have very capable people running the day-to-day. I get that. But other than Linda Livingstone, there's nobody to fire a head coach right now. And so it's an odd – what was that like to you the other night as you kind of prepared and even made your way around the press box and had the conversations? Didn't it almost seem like the game was a sideshow to the real story?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I mean, obviously, the Mack thing is a big topic of conversation among everyone, and as much as you can say it's not a distraction for the team, I don't know how it couldn't be. But to your point about Dave and his status, I wrote in my column, I think he might be here next year just by default, because right now you don't have an athletic director to one, fire him, two, to conduct a coaching search. As you said, I mean, they've got people that are doing the day-to-day stuff, and certainly Jovan is highly thought of, but is Linda Livingstone gonna let Dave go when she may also be having to hire an athletic director? That seems doubtful. If they have a new athletic director, that guy probably is the one to where. As I wrote, it's a weird time in Waco. There's just the team is what it is. Not very good. It's mediocre at best. Trying to fight to get to 6 wins and just make a bowl game. And certainly they came into the year with much higher expectations than that. And I think they've proven that those expectations were unfounded. They're not good enough right now to make the Big 12 championship game, especially on defense.
Isn't that weird that he was kept partially because he told them that he could keep those defensive backs? I was saying that earlier in the show today. I was trying to remember, like, who are those DBs that were supposed to be so great that, like, you remember they had freshman cornerback. One of them was Caden Jenkins. Mm-hmm. Corey Gordon Jr. was a nice player who now plays for Louisville. they had one other. Oh, Carl Williams, safety. Has he ever suited up this year? Did he suit up for one game or something? I don't know what.
Yeah, maybe one game. I mean, his status is always seemingly questionable on the injury report.
Yeah. So they kept him because of the money thing, really, was because they didn't want to pay him all this money not to coach. Then they rally at the end of last year. But, how sad of a place is that for a program to be in? What you just said, though, is like the only shot he has is not really to coach his way to it, because we don't really think he's about to run off 2 straight wins. It would be maybe to split these, go to a bowl game, and be on the hot seat again next year. I mean, the lack of momentum for this program, even with a new AD and Aranda, would be stunning next year. You and I would show up at the Big 12, at the media day, and it would just be like, okay, here we are again. It's just the fan base has kind of moved on. Like, the most exciting thing from that game the other night was us looking up to our left and up there in the 300 section, and the shirtless Baylor freshman guy, and I think it wasn't just freshmen, by the way, the Baylor students, the guys had gone up there inspired by Oklahoma State. So it's like, I thought that moment was fun and kind of neat, and also kind of embarrassing, because it honestly was a statement on where the team is, right? That they were kind of doing what Oklahoma State had to do with a team that was going nowhere, had already fired its coach, and the kids were just looking to go do something kind of fun. That's kind of what that felt like to me the other night.
Well, and Aranda was asked about it today, and the sad part about that is what wasn't said. So they asked Dave, did you notice that, and what were your thoughts about it? And Dave, being Dave, he told a little story about how some friends the game, and one of them, I guess, joined the shirtless crew, which I thought was funny. That was a nice little anecdote. But here's the thing that wasn't said, was that there were times when the game started getting out of hand that shirtless crew was yelling, "Fire Aranda, fire Dave," chanting that. And nobody really asked Dave about that today. But, I don't know how you don't hear those kind of things. And as much as he talks about the leadership on this team, trying to keep, like, they're still together despite everything they've gone through. I think there's got to be some guys that are checked out by now. And certainly, as you just referenced, a lot of the fan base has checked out. And if Aranda comes back next year, I just think you really run the risk of McLean Stadium looking like even more of a ghost town than it already does. Because who's going to be excited for that among your fan base?
Yeah. What'd you say the other night in your column, or the other day? Sun's out, guns out. What'd you say?
I said moon's out, doom's out.
You had a couple of good lines in there that I liked.
There was one I thought of while we were sitting there next to each other in the post game that I didn't end up using, but I'll burn it now. I was thinking about preparation and how lack of unprepared Baylor looks from week to week, and I thought to myself, maybe I should put this in the column, and then I was like, no, this is that. I'll keep that one out. But it was the only preparation Baylor knows is preparation H, because their butts are getting burned so often.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So there you go. I saved that one for you, Matt.
Oh, that's yeah. For the YouTube audience, for the Mosley Show. Thank you. That was what my old newspaper editor at the Morning News said. You can't say anything. And it's funny because I think that would have been a good line, and people probably would have been like, oh my gosh, you see what Brice said. But his thing was he didn't want you to say something that people would have trouble as they're reading your column or your story, eating their breakfast the next morning. He didn't want anything in print that would bother their
Nothing
breakfast.
Gross, I guess.
Yeah, that was the deal.
That's a good rule.
Oh, man.
I've probably broken that rule more than once.
Do you think what do you think the timetable? My thought is you gotta get an AD in here. I mean, like, Mack's not around to help. No matter what you do with Mack, he's not around to help you during this huge time. So if you need a new AD, you better be on that search right now. Like, that search should have started, before now. Search should have started last week. You need an AD in the next 2 weeks, and then you got to decide: do you fire the coach for the AD, maybe with his consultation or her consultation, or do you let the new AD? I mean, that's always awkward. You gotta, okay, you're hired. We found the right person. Now your first act is to have to fire a coach, or, like you said, go with like a coach on the hot seat. I feel like Ren Baker did that at West Virginia, didn't he? He got hired, and I think by being hired at that time, he got hired. The thought was, let's let this guy have one more year. I think that West Virginia guy had finished decently. When they almost fired Dave Aranda in 2023, Neil Brown had actually had a decent ending to his season, so they kept him. I guess, what in your mind, how do you see this playing out over these next few weeks? Let's say they do fire Aranda. Don't they need to have a new AD here within the next 2 or 3 weeks?
So first of all, you're asking me to predict what A, the football team's going to do, and B, what Baylor's going to do. Those are hard things to predict.
Yeah.
Because the football team, you never know which team's going to show up from week to week. But here's what I'll say. They've got to be praying that they get one more win out of these last two, because it's a lot easier to spin that narrative of, well, at least we made a bowl game, rather than bringing back after 5 and 7. You know what I mean? I just feel like that's something. It's mediocrity, but it's something. And so I think that's an easier narrative to spin. And that's what Baylor's going to have to do, is a little bit of spin doctoring, because things are not good. And to answer your question, what I think they're going to do, I mean, I do think certainly Linda's got to have a short list of ADs that potential ADs that she's looking at, and that process needs to be happening sooner than later. But I tend to agree with the idea of the new guy not wanting to be in the situation of having to be the bad guy when you just come in to fire Dave. And so, you can bring Dave back, and the benefit of bringing Dave back is you do get a recruiting class that's highly thought of in those ranking spheres. It's rated well. A lot of good local kids in this recruiting cycle. So you get those guys on campus. Will you be able to keep them if, Dave ends up getting fired in 2026? Who knows? But I mean, that's the nature of college football anyway. Guys leave, guys come. So yeah, I think that is probably where I'm leaning is, there's a new athletic director in place, and they bring Dave back and run it back one more year and see if the definition of insanity does not play out.
Like one of the better programs on campus seems to be the soccer program now. And do you know who's trying to hire a soccer coach right now? It is Texas A&M. And the Baylor coach, things are floating around about her. She used to be at DBU, came to Baylor. You know her. Michelle Leonard is her name. And, we've been so focused on football and maybe even the start of basketball season. Perhaps, Brice, you and I might not be the most soccer plugged in America. But I'm speaking for myself. I'm sorry. I shouldn't throw you into my thing.
No. But, and I've got Michael Haig on that soccer.
Good.
I would have to ask him, but go on.
You might. I'm just thinking of all the craziness going on. You might have to have a soccer coach search as well, because the good news and bad news is she's very highly thought of. And so I think her name probably will come up in some searches. Now, maybe the Bears will be able to hold on to her, and that is great that group has had an excellent season. So we shall see. We'll see. And in men's and women's basketball, Baylor, there's some excitement on that thing. But boy, the football thing, I remember how ugly that felt to lose to to Houston on a 2-point conversion at the end of, what was that? Was that 2000? It feels like everything horrible happened one of those seasons. Was that 2023? Because I remember something that I thought the season ended with West Virginia, but I do remember the Cougs in their first year, maybe, or they came to visit and they went for 2 and they beat Baylor.
Yeah.
And now, think about all these programs, Brice, like that have like very hopeful feelings, right? Like Houston is a 2-loss team. BYU continues to be good. The Texas Tech fan base has to feel better than ever as they head toward the college football playoff. This team Baylor's going to go face. They have a new stadium name. Talking about Arizona.
To your point, I think the biggest black eye, I don't know if you call it the biggest black eye, but like one thing that makes Mack Rhoades look not so great is that he had the chance to hire Joey McGuire. And look what Joey's doing this season at Texas Tech. Now, granted, there's some factors that play into that, including the fact that they have shelled out a lot of money in NIL and brought in some hosses to that program out in Lubbock. But I bet there's a lot of Baylor fans that could get behind the idea of, man, if we'd have just hired Joey, look where we would be. And it's a dangerous game to play, that what if game, because you don't know exactly how it would have turned out. But yeah, I'm sure there are a lot of fans that are going, wow, I wish we could have a do-over.
Well, the new coach, if they hire one, has to have more traits like Joey, like Rule. What was Rule great at? Rule was great at the podium. Rule was great with the media. Rule was this and that, and they have done everything to try to pacify and make even mean old Mosley was too much for Aranda. Aranda personally requested, to speak to, it's just from they have, but you cannot blame Baylor for giving Aranda every possible chance. Like, this is what we'll do with media. We won't make you do any of this. So you'll never have to talk about one of your recruiting classes. They have bent over backwards. And so Brice, moving forward, he's never going to change. If they bring him back, I'm sure it'll be the same Aranda. But the next person, if they're ever to turn this around, in my opinion, they got to get somebody like you just brought up with Joey. I don't know what Joey would have done. I agree with you. I don't play that game like, oh my gosh, Baylor would be knocking on the door of the college football playoff. He has a cannon of money behind him. He has an enormous cannon. Now, you still have to go out and coach the team. And you still have, so I do think Joey deserves credit on that part. But Joey can win the offseason. Joey is great in front of cameras. The alums love him. He does all that. And Baylor, the disconnect with Aranda and this fan base and these alums is enormous.
Yes,
and whoever's next, if it is somebody next, needs to win Waco, the Baylor alums. There's a lot of connections that need to happen, and then light that thing up. And then maybe get some LED lighting. By the way, I was laughing because all these stadiums I've been in recently. You got a kid. We both have kids at A&M. Like, that's an unbelievable game day atmosphere. Now, part of it's because they have 105,000 people, right? That's a more exciting atmosphere. But part of it is their game presentation's amazing. And like a night game there, they're flashing the lights. They do that in Tuscaloosa. Somebody says to me the other night, they're at a game at Royce City High School Friday night, and they had that. Like, they had the deal where they could do all the lights. And I'm thinking.
Yeah, they have it at China Spring. They have it at Odessa Permian. I'm sort of on the fence about it because as someone at high school games often having to see who scored the touchdown or something, and I like the lights going up. But yeah, it's cool. I mean, it's cool. It's a fun deal. And I hear what you're saying about, Baylor trying to make it as fun as possible. Obviously, the shirtless dudes were something that got everybody talking. And,
yeah.
It was a fun thing, and they were into the game, and then they turned on them, and then they left.
Yeah. I didn't hear the one. You and I caught a peek of like what somebody was shouting at Aranda. Somebody had on video. I don't know if they ever shared that. I think, yeah. I didn't know if he would want us to, but
he tweeted about it. He tweeted. He didn't tweet the video, but he tweeted about the video.
Okay, which is I think yeah. Anyway, yeah, we Brice and I. Somebody was trying to tap into our wisdom the other night on whether or not to share something, and somebody got pretty profane. It's something that we would definitely see in the SEC and Napier and all those other guys who've gotten fired and Freeze. They've dealt with it. Our Baptist sensibilities are a little different with Baylor,
sure,
so it's
I think, to me, like, this is a whole different argument, but. I feel like the social media culture of, today, it bleeds over into like real life, and people say things that maybe they wouldn't have said 20, 25, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And, just because you buy a ticket doesn't give you the right to say anything, and I think we've seen just an outbreak of that across all levels of athletics. The UIL has tried to address it with some sportsmanship type initiatives and those kind of things. But whether you want Dave Aranda gone or not, like, act like an adult. That's what I would say. Act like an adult and just, be kind. I mean, yes, these guys are well compensated. They know the gig. They know they have to win, but they're still human beings. They still have families. And, if you were leaving your job, you wouldn't want to hear, go pack your bleeping bags. So,
I think you hadn't worked for Cumulus, Brice. I think that's what they told me one time.
Well played.
Hey, I appreciate it. Always on these big overreaching. I mean, I like talking to you all the time, but especially kind of like chopping it up with you when you have a big story like this that we're all kind of thinking about and everything. So I appreciate you jumping on with me.
Yeah. I'm glad I saved the preparation H line for you. That was a humdinger.
That's right. Save your best stuff for the Mosley Show.
All right. Thanks, Matt.
All right. See you, man. There he goes. Brice Cherry, sports editor, the Waco Trib, sharing some of the outtakes from the Waco Trib coverage. Follow the Waco Trib. It's, I still love supporting our local newspapers. If not, I mean, the high school coverage is always what, to me, especially with Central Texas being such great high school teams and programs and coaches and players. I always think that's like the most important thing, especially at a newspaper of this size. I just and they do an incredible job, but the Baylor coverage is really good. And while people don't always hold up the old traditional newspaper anymore, I read it online on a daily basis. So I would encourage you to consider a subscription to the local newspaper, and in our case, that's the Waco Trib.